Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Financial Pro podcast. It is a pleasure to be in your ears once again with all things Financial Pro, building a more successful business. And today I have got my right-hand man with me who, realistically, this is long overdue as a podcast episode. Mr. Jack Whitby. Raise a hand, raise a glass, clap your hands, invite him to the stage. Look, he's feeling so awkward now because I'm putting him on the spot.
two years this podcast's been going. I finally made it on here.
Well, why has that taken 2 years, Jack? Let's be honest. What's going on? Why have we waited 2 years to get your beautiful mug onto this podcast episode? I see you've done your hair as well this morning.
Tried to. With the lockdown locks.
We haven't actually got a reason, is it? Is there a particular reason why you haven't been on it before?
I remember back when it was definitely Mortgage Pro, not many months after we launched it, we were like, oh, Jack, you can come on the podcast and do this, that, and the other. And I don't even know what happened to it, to be fair.
It just ran away with itself.
2 years later, we're here talking social media. Marketing.
We'll have to make this a regular feature. This will have to happen. The Gary and Jack Show.
That's a whole new podcast in itself.
So, yeah, ladies and gents, for those of you who don't know, you might have heard a reference to Jack Whitby in previous episodes. Many of the things within Financial Pro, within Mortgage Pro, within the communities, within our training portal, within the first 100 episodes of this podcast would not have happened without this man, because he has done everything technologically in the background. He is the techie. He is the implementer, the integrator. He basically makes me look good online. That's really the gist of what we should say, Jack. You're the brains behind the brawn and the beauty, shall we say?
This intro is just making my head just go massive.
Yeah, there you go. It's deserved. So, yeah, just give people a little bit of an intro for you, just because obviously they might have heard your name, but you can intro yourself because you have serious expertise in today's topic around what's working on social media for mortgage brokers right now.
So, great to finally be on the podcast. So my journey with Gary, I came straight out of sixth form when I was 18 years old, looked for an apprenticeship for an apprenticeship company. Gary was the first interview that I had, and I've worked with him ever since. 3.5 years later, I've worked on active mortgage social media. I've done video, I've done podcast editing, image creation, social media channel management, portal management, just about every email marketing, landing page building, everything in marketing that you can possibly do. I've had the opportunity to do through Gary and through his teaching. And then in things like the podcast, and Gary came to me and said, oh, I want to start a podcast. I've had the opportunity to learn and develop my skills in loads of different areas across the whole remit of marketing. I definitely specialize more in social media now because that's where my day-to-day role tends to stick now. But I've been very privileged to have a very wide knowledge of marketing, especially for my age, coming out of sixth form straight into my first role. I feel very privileged to have learned as much as I had. And I suppose that's down to you, Gary. Yeah. I was going to say it got a bit cheesy, so I felt like I had to say something about it.
Yeah, but it's the same. It works both ways, mate, because I feel extremely privileged to have found you on the team. Because like I say, this whole second business and podcast and inspiring hundreds and thousands of financial services professionals now throughout the world, realistically, with this podcast being listened to in 50 episodes, none of it would have been possible without you doing with all the tech, because we know I'm all right at tech, but it can also go wrong very quickly if I get too involved. And I think this is one of the things. I did a podcast episode a couple of episodes ago, which was all about recruitment. And it was all about apprentices and Kickstarters. And when I wanted to take my social media to the next level, I had one request of the local college, and that was find me someone who can do video editing. And Jack came in with video editing and photography, and having that technical skill and that ability where you had actually done your own YouTube channel as well, hadn't you? Yeah. So he's nodding, by the way, for those listening on the podcast.
Sorry, I
forgot he was on a podcast there. Thought he was on a video. Yeah. For those, I actually just said, I want someone who can do video and I want someone who can do editing. And that skill means that Jack's also a bit of a gamer and likes computer games. And that technical knowledge has meant that the training portal, the hours of content, the editing, all of that stuff has been leveraged from the moment that Jack has started, but it's also given the opportunity to be able to grow the social media, the marketing and the lead generation much, much faster, because I can focus on strategy, ideas, content creation, being in it. And Jack can do the other side of, well, you tell them what you do in relation to how you help that go forward.
Yeah, so there's video editing, so helping Gary record the video when we can actually get together. Then I take that video, edit it, and then I do all the distribution for it. So if that video goes on Facebook, it might go on YouTube, might go on LinkedIn. I then might do a short clip of that video and turn it into one of the bots with the two banners, top and bottom, which could go on Instagram, that can go on Facebook again, that could again go on LinkedIn. You can then create story images out of a 10-second clip from the video that you could put on Instagram stories, Facebook stories, even TikTok. Some of our videos get repurposed to nowadays. And then taking those videos again, turn them into blogs, turn them into posts, creating more images out of those with quotes and things like that. So I basically just get Gary to do the video. He can then pass that video to me, and then I can just churn all this content out that can go out across the week on multiple different platforms and multiple different channels.
And there's one of the things that you've missed off there in relation to a lot of the stuff that I don't get necessarily the time to do, but you also feed me with ideas for content, and you monitor our numbers behind the scenes as well, don't you?
Yeah, so I do weekly social media tracking, and what I'll do, I'll sort of get a rough number of what sort of each week's numbers are like in terms of views, likes, comments, shares. And then if one week particularly spikes, I can then go deeper into that analytics and see, okay, what post, what video made that week so much more successful. And then in that I can say, okay, Gary, this video worked really well, or this post worked really well, so let's try and do this again with a slightly different spin on it, or continue this certain topic. I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. But a lot around this week has been a paid organic versus paid marketing has been a big topic this week, due to people talking about it on Clubhouse. And then Gary took that topic and then made some videos out of it, or made a video out of it. I can then take that topic and then create more content in terms of images, video clips, posts to do with that topic, which I can use the rest of this week, next week. So it's looking at certain analytics, seeing what's working well. I can feed it back to Gary, and then we can create content out of that. To keep those numbers high, basically.
And this is the thing, is it's the same as it is within your financial services business. You are the mortgage advisor, the insurance advisor, the will writer, the financial services professional who's there speaking to clients on the front end, doing the fact finds, doing the research, selling and arranging and servicing fees. And on the back end, you've got your administrator, your PA, who's feeding you with knowledge on, you know, which lenders have got processing times and who's got delays and what's going on the back end part of the process. And that then should be having an impact on the advice that you're giving. Because if someone's got speed, the last thing you want to do is go to a lender that's got a 10-day delay. So this is the same principles that I used to use as a broker, is the same principles that I now use with Jack to make sure that we're effectively making the most of our social media and of our marketing. And the key thing really as well is when you understand what's working and the analytics that Jack's reviews and the spreadsheets that Jack updates, and he feeds that to me and says, look, this content worked really well last week, then we just create more of that, which means that we attract more of the people that we want into the mortgage brokerage or the financial pro side of things. So from a mortgage and financial services perspective at the moment, then Jack, let's get into some technical stuff, because I bang on about, personal brand, identifying your customer, putting yourself out there and grabbing attention, and then obviously not leaving them on social media, because otherwise you've basically gone and got yourself Mark Zuckerberg is Thanos. And if he goes and clicks his fingers, all of a sudden your customers and clients are gone in an instant. Now, I've spoken about the importance of not just doing attention and awareness, but getting them into your database. Today, we're going to focus on what's working on social media. So how to get more attention out there. So what you're seeing from an analytical side of point of view, Jack, what's working for me from a personal brand perspective? What's working for Active Mortgage right now? Because they're realistically going to be the same things anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, funny that you mentioned this because it popped to my head when you were just talking about the mortgage broker process back in the day. And a big thing that's working on social media now is authenticity, things that are real and personal to you. And a thing that we used to do a lot and still do is Gary will talk to the active mortgage team, or back in the day, he would talk to his admin and say, what sort of problems are we coming across in the different stages of the mortgage broker process? And then the problems that you're occurring is then your content for social media. Because if one client's going to be having that problem, then more than likely a lot of other people are going to have that problem. And that problem could even stop them from pursuing getting a mortgage, getting themselves insured and things like that. So creating those case studies and being authentic. I had telling personal stories that you've had to go through in terms of a sad phone call you had to make because someone didn't have a policy that they thought they did in terms of insurance, or someone who couldn't achieve their mortgage that they wanted because they didn't have the right preparation in place. Telling those stories across social media win big because people can relate to them, and they say, right, okay, I know that now, so then I can work around that, not make that mistake, and then that could give them the nudge to then pursue their mortgage insurance journey, whatever it may be. So that's a big one that's working at the moment.
Yeah, without a doubt. The facts tell, the stories sell. That's the cheesy marketing slang behind that one, but it's so true, isn't it? It's what's going on in the real world. You know, people want to be hanging around with people like them. So if you can make them feel like you've worked with a customer who has been in their situation and that you've helped someone overcome that issue, then they're just going to go, hey, that person's already done it. Then you become the logical choice without a shadow of a doubt. And what you're referencing there as well is a little bit, I'm not sure if we've spoken about this on the podcast before. I've done so many episodes now, I can't even really remember. But what do you, what's kind of your view on the whole document versus create? Obviously, a lot of Academy members have got their head around this document versus create, but how would you explain it to the listeners?
So in my personal opinion, creating content is giving people answers to questions that they're answers. So a perfect example of this would be if someone's asking how to get a mortgage, how to get myself insured, creating content would be answering that question for them, whether it be through video, post, image, anything like that. Whereas documenting content is you answering that question through your day-to-day life, which has maybe not necessarily been asked. So that's more things like stories. Some people like to go live on Facebook and just do sort of a behind the scenes sort of, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm filling out this fact find. I'm about to do a strategy call. That's more documentation because you're showing people what the day-to-day life of your role is, whether it be mortgage broker, financial services, anything like that. But yeah, creating is more, in my head, it's almost like document is raw content, stuff that you just put up, and then created is more the edited side of content. For longevity and repurposing stuff.
Yeah, the documenting is personal brand and the creating is business brand, I think is I was thinking about it as you were talking then, and that's how I would kind of summarize it. The documenting is kind of what you're doing and living around. And I don't think I've ever thought about it like that before. But yeah, the documentation is just showing who you are and what you're up to and how you're living your day and all that kind of stuff, along with today, selfie, here's me and my tri-gold, you know. And then when you could see clients, I've got a great one, Kessa up in Scotland, who, you know, constantly used to put pictures of himself seeing his buy-to-let investors and meeting with, you know, people who he ran his event with when he used to do his face-to-face events. You know, all that stuff is super powerful to put your personal brand out there. And then answering common questions for your clients, yes, is building the business brand without a doubt. But it's also the difference, to make this really clear for you, the beauty of documenting, no compliance, because you're just sharing what you're doing.
Yep.
The creating is the hard work where you have to come up with the ideas and you have to think about your clients all the time. That's the stuff that you're going to have call to actions on. That's the stuff where you might get a little bit more detailed and nitty gritty. And let's be honest, do you reckon clients realistically care how a broker gets them a mortgage, or how someone gets their pension, or how someone sorts out their will?
No.
Why not?
Because I like to think about this in a term of not just mortgage, but just anything you purchase. If you've had a good experience, whether it be a simple going into Sainsbury's to do your food shop. If you've had a relatively fine experience where you've just walked in, you've got everything you want, it's not busy, you've walked out, you've got what you want. If then Sainsbury's took a photo of me and said, customers enjoying their shopping trip today, I'd be like, yeah, I did enjoy my shopping trip. I got everything I needed to get. It's a silly example, but I feel like it's the same thing in terms of the mortgage process. If you've given them an enjoyable process where, you've held their hand throughout the process, you've answered all their questions, you've taken that stress off them, and then eventually you've achieved their mortgage and they can move into their dream home. What happened to get to that point that isn't really relevant anymore, because they've got the outcome that they wanted. So no, I don't think that particularly matters to the client, and at least for me, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah, I completely agree as well. It's especially the biggest generation now is the millennial generation, which I'm only just outside of. Yeah, all right. Don't pull that face at me. I'm 40 this year. Yes, I am 40 this year. Can't even grow a full-blown beard. I know.
They wouldn't have known that. It's a podcast.
40 and can't grow a beard. Hey ho. So yeah, I've completely forgotten, lost my entire trail of thought now. What were we talking about?
About the client journey. Are the clients going to be bothered about what happened?
Listening to Phil Treadwell on the podcast, he was talking about the speed at which people want to get information now, and how quickly, the millennials want everything, whether that's working for you. They want to change the world in a day rather than actually realizing that. And this is obviously a big generalization, and sorry, millennials, if you're offended by this, but it's not meant to offend you. But it's that thing of the world is fast now. Money Supermarket came around and they made everything happen much faster. Amazon come around, they made everything much faster. And then they put one-click purchase in and absolutely burnt a hole in my credit card. I don't know about anybody else. Everything is moving so much faster. And that is naturally feeding down to, the generation of millennials. Google made everything faster. YouTube made everything faster because you can find an answer. You don't even have to go on Google and type anymore. You just go, hey, Alexa, and they give you the blooming answer. I've had to turn Alexa off when the kids are doing the homework as well, because that's just ridiculous. They're cheating on their maths. But the point I'm making is the importance of speed and the importance of being able to make your systems and processes much easier for clients to be able to deal with. And this also feeds into your marketing. And we were talking before about YouTube Shorts. I think this is a real segue into, the point of short form content and what's working on social media. Talk to us about that, Jackie boy.
So Gary hit the nail on the head there, and being a 1999 baby myself, I can attest to the fact that the millennial generation, we want everything at a snap of a finger. Next day delivery. That's what I'm all about. If I can get something, I want it right there and then. So the idea of short form content and why it's so relevant right now is because people are busy, not just millennials, but just people in general are busy, especially as a mortgage broker. There's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes. So the content that people want to be consuming is short and snappy. People don't want long-winded, and to be fair, the anomaly to this will be Clubhouse. I'm just going to throw that out there. But people don't want long-winded content. They want their answers there and then. Gary just mentioned with the Alexa, ask Alexa a question, get the answer, bang, move on to the next thing that you're doing. So that's why stories in particular are working well. And it started with Instagram, or it started with Snapchat and Instagram. I think it started with Snapchat first, actually. Then Instagram adopted the idea of stories, obviously, but being part of Facebook adopted it. Now YouTube are getting on board. TikTok's come back up with the 60-second content now and is blowing up. So there's LinkedIn stories coming out soon, I believe, as well. So all these social media platforms are jumping on it because that's what people are spending their time on. And even though they want that short form content, they end up spending longer on those platforms because they're just getting information just off the bat, one after the other, and entertainment so quick. You don't just watch a video for, on YouTube. If you get a 5-second ad, sometimes I've been liable to click off that video if it's got more than 15 seconds because I want to get to the point. Unlike this statement I'm making where I'm waffling on, but but the idea is that people want that short content, and that's why stories are doing so well.
But it's also, I'm just thinking here as you're talking, then last year when the pandemic hit, I went live every single day, didn't I? And we thought it'd be really a real advantage, and we would get way more downloads on this podcast by putting more episodes out every single week. Now on the podcast, it actually had a negative impact. We got less downloads. Whereas when we put more videos out on YouTube, although the video views per video was down, the overall views across the course of the week was up. So it really shows the difference in relation to the social media and channels and the way in which they interact. Now, you might think, why the hell is Gary talking about that? Because we were just talking about short form content. Here's the key thing. Short form content is what you need to be producing to attract customers to your long form content. If you see a valuable clip off of the back of this podcast, having never listened to it before, and it's 1 minute, and I provide you a short amount of value in that 1 minute, and then we put a little screen image at the end of it that says, hey, there's a podcast episode, you'll go through and listen to the whole episode then, because you've had that hint of value. So the reels and the TikToks and the 15 to 30 second pieces of content that you can produce give the opportunity for somebody then to go through to YouTube and watch you for 15 minutes, or to go and listen to you on a podcast, or to go and watch your 15-minute live. You have to be producing the short form. And this is a massive realization for me. I'm putting myself outside my comfort zone because I am naturally a talker. I naturally do podcasts. I naturally can talk for 15 minutes to 30 minutes. I really struggle to make 15 to 30 second short form content without it being a bit dull, because let's be honest, mortgages are dull, but we've all got to put a tutu on and dance at some point in time in our lives, I imagine. So why not just do it on Reels and TikTok? But the advantage is you capture the attention of somebody there and then. They think, hey, that dude's funny. Then they check out the rest of your content. Then they see you're a mortgage broker. Then they see you're an IFA. Then they go, oh, let's go and have a look at his website. Oh, let's see what other Reels he's done. See if he is actually funny or not. So this is the big thing that people are missing on social media, is the short form is winning because of the millennials and because of the attention span.
100%. And just following on from that point in terms of creating the content that people are going to see and think, oh, he does this, so then I'll look further into maybe if he does a mortgage. The perfect example of this would be the gym for Gary. A lot of fitness content goes out there that we put out on Gary's personal channel. People then get in contact with him because, oh, they got that mutual contact in the gym. Oh, Gary also does mortgages. They then start working for the mortgage brokerage. And then it works in a real life basis as well. When gyms are reopened, when Gary's training at the gym, he gets talking to other people there that are training. Again, the mortgage conversation comes up, which is where social media is basically one huge gym in an essence. When you're putting out that content that you like, gym, fishing, gaming, whatever it may well be, you create that first relationship there, and then the business falls off the back of it.
I love that analogy. That is so key and so true. It's like the amount of clients that we have in active that are personal trainers and gym owners. It's crazy because of the fact that I share my stuff on my stories and clients find me there. And I spoke to a coaching client earlier who's gone through the lead generation course, and we spent the first 5 minutes talking about golf and how I used to play golf when I was 16 and everything else, and why I don't play now. And then it led down to the fitness that we both did and everything else, because we've never spoken before. And that's the first time we've had a conversation. But the whole first thing is all about rapport. What do you do when you speak to a new lead or a new client? You build rapport. So you need to utilize your social media to build rapport with your audience. And they're not going to like you because you're a mortgage broker. They're going to like you because you are you. That's the key thing.
That's exactly it.
I love that, Jack. I absolutely love that. So, okay, let's, I'm thinking in my mind, we might run this as a little once a month, little podcast episode, maybe see what we can drum up, and we'll have a different topic around this every single month. So I'm going to ask you all to do something here that, because this has been a little test episode, to have a little conversation around. We're going to run this as kind of a little monthly insight as perhaps what's working on social media, what's working for us from a marketing perspective, both on my personal brand and on my brokerage. As Jack's heavily involved in all of that side of it, we're about to launch a social media and content marketing agency for our clients in the Pro Academy, which Jack is going to be heading up. So we're going to be, helping loads of financial services professionals and people in other industries to really take their social media to the next level, as well as their automated and ads-based marketing. So if you want us to do this as a regular basis, I'm going to ask you to put a comment in wherever you can do that. Tag me and Jack on Instagram stories. Come and tell us that you want us to do this regularly to give you the insights that you need to take your marketing and your social media to the next level. And we might do a little, once a month for 6 months, a little series, and we'll proper map it out in terms of what we can do to help you really grow your lead generation over a 6-month period. What do you reckon, Jack? Is that a good idea?
Sounds spicy. I'm down.
Sounds spicy. Oh, spicy. We do like a bit of spice. So yeah, I like the idea of this. I think it can provide a lot of value to you, which is our listeners, which is ultimately what we want to be able to do. It's a bit more chat orientated because, Jack and I have known each other for nearly 4 years now. It's on our 5th year, I think, anyway. So rather than being a kind of interview style, we can just bring you a hell of a lot of value once a month with what's actually working and what's not. If you do want to understand, our key principles that we utilize to generate leads every single month, consistently, now over 100 leads a month still go into my brokerage organically because of the content marketing efforts that we did 2016, 17, 18, 19. And I haven't done mortgage content for almost a year at this point. And I still generate over 100 leads a month because the assets are there already doing the hard work and the heavy lifting for me. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope it's brought you lots of value. Jack, what's your final piece of social media advice that people need to take immediate action on after listening to this?
If you haven't already, then after listening to this episode, post one post on every social media platform that you have, Facebook, whatever it is, record a video, just get it up. Some people seem to think that video is so scary, and I agree that it is, but you have to remember that your expertise is you're answering someone else's questions. So just get it out, get it done, and then consistency will come from there.
When you say consistency, how often do they have to do it?
I always say to people that are first getting into it, if you can do twice a week, great. And then eventually build yourself up to every day.
Nice work. And if you want to go and download the guide that Jack and I put together, which is the 30-30 formula, how you can generate 30 leads in 30 days. If you go to the show notes or to financial-pro.com, you'll be able to find it there where you can download it and you can see how to get those 30 inspirational ideas to generate more leads for your business. Today has been a wonderful little chat with the lovely Mr. Jack Whitby, my brother from another mother. Don't know why I keep saying that. I said that on another podcast as well, but you are really. It's been a pleasure working with you for the last 5 years, and I'm sure we're going to have 5 more and take over the world. Today, Pinky, we're going to take over the world. You don't even know who Pinky and the Brain are. You're not even old enough, are you? Just about.
Oh
my goodness. I feel even more older now. That's a really good English as well. Right. Financial Pro podcast. You know that pro leads means perseverance leads to results, which creates opportunity. What does pro mean to you, Jack?
So unlike the rest of the guests, I've had all day to think about what I'm going to say to this question. But when I hear pro and when I have heard pro throughout this whole journey of building financial pro means to me, trying your best at everything you do. Whatever you do, you get 100% effort into it. And you keep working at it until you are a pro. That's what it means to me.
Boom. Thanks very much indeed for tuning in, ladies and gents. Jack, it's been a pleasure. I've actually quite enjoyed this. I think we should do these chats more often. We should do one of our marketing meetings as well, because that'll be really waffly and all over the shop. That'll be a proper brain dump that they'll pick up on.
People love it.
Thanks very much indeed. Hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks for listening to the episode. Remember, now's the time to become pro.